All right, we're going to do some introductory coding today. If you've been working on some Make Create projects, you've probably seen that there's a few techniques we use a lot while we're coding. In particular, we use a few structures that have some logic to them, like while loops, if-then statements, and for loops. And so we're going to take a look at how each of those works. We're going to start off with a while loop. So right now on the screen, I've got some very simple code, and side by side that I've got a very simple circuit, and you'll see those correspond to each other. The code has 3 pins, 7, 6, and 5, defined as outputs, and when I load that code to the board, those 3 are going to turn on simply. So I have no structure other than as soon as this uploads to the board, we're going to see the lights go on. You'll also see that I start the serial monitor up here, and that's going to be really helpful to us in a few minutes. So let's go ahead and upload this code. I'm going to turn my serial monitor on. Okay, so as soon as that code uploaded, you saw those 3 LEDs turn themselves on. That's nothing new here, pretty basic stuff. But now we're going to add something else. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use a while loop that'll actually be really helpful to us for a couple of these learning videos. And what it does is it tells the rest of the code to wait until we put some input in the serial monitor. So we've got this line here, while serial available is equal to 0. That's what this statement here means, while it's equal to 0. And then we have these empty brackets. That's telling it do nothing. So what this while loop is, it's saying as long as there is nothing entered in the serial monitor over here, we're going to hold off and do nothing. So what should happen when we upload this code is that those LEDs should go off. And when they do, they won't turn back on until I enter some input over here. So let's go ahead and watch how that works. Okay, so now you can see that that code with just that one line, when it uploaded this time, the lights did not go on. So I'm going to go over here to the serial monitor and I'm going to enter something. Just the word Make Create, doesn't matter what you put in there. It could be a number or a letter or anything. As soon as I hit enter, our LEDs go on. So we've exited the while loop because that while loop was only in play while the serial monitor had no inputs in it. Now that we've exited that loop, we can head on down to the rest of our code, and that automatically turns our LEDs on. All right, you'll see here now I've added a few LEDs to the circuit for a total of 6. I've also added into our code the remainder of those pins. So, oops, I've got a missing one here for pin 2, so I'll add that one in. And then a little bit lower down, you'll see that when we upload the code and again enter something into our serial monitor to turn it on or make it available, all of those LEDs should go on. So let's try that. Okay, so we have our LEDs off right now. We enter some input into our serial monitor and they all go on. All right. Now, we're going to do one more thing to this loop to give you a little bit more, or we're going to add a second loop now that's going to demonstrate a little bit more the power of these things. So in order to do that, we're going to introduce 2 variables. One of those is going to be what we call LED counter. And for our purposes, we're just going to start off with a value of 6 on that. Or actually, let's make it 7. And then we're going to start off with an integer called I. And we're going to let that equal 2. So you'll notice that right now 7 is the highest pin I have connected on the circuit and 2 is the lowest pin, and so that's kind of relevant here. We're going to see something happen. All right, so now I'm going to open my next while loop. And again, a while loop opens with, or starts with, some statement that can either be true or false. So we're going to say while I is less than or equal to, oops, that's not an equal sign, keep doing that, LED counter, do something. So here is where we put what we wanted to do. So we're going to want it for each value of I to turn on the pin with that address. So we're going to digital write pin I to high. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make I bigger. So what happens here is we start off our program. We've already given I a value of 2 and our LED counter of 7. This is going to hold off until we enter some information over here. We'll enter whatever we want over there, which will then kick it into this second loop. And here, since 2 is less than or equal to 7, we'll enter our while loop. We'll turn on pin 2, and we'll increment. This is saying make I 1 bigger than it was. I is now 3. We go back to the beginning of our loop. 3 is still less than it, so we should turn on the next light. 4 is still less than it, we'll turn on the next light. And you'll see we get all of them lit up this way. In fact, what we're going to do at the end of this is we're going to add a slight delay of a half a second, 500 milliseconds, and that is going to give us enough time to see those lights. Actually, let's add a full second there so it's a little clearer coming on. All right, so I'm going to verify my code. Make sure I haven't made a typo. All right, now we'll upload the code, which should turn those LEDs off. And open our serial monitor. Okay, and it's going to wait on us for some input. So we'll just input anything we want. I'm going to input an exclamation point, hit enter. And you'll see each of those LEDs turn on as we're going through the loop. Okay, now this time all of them turned on. Let's go back and alter our code a little bit and make this smaller. So let's make it 5 this time and see what happens. Upload the code. We're going to wait for a prompt from our serial monitor in order to get things started. All right, so if you look closely this time, again, I'll make it a little bit darker so you can see more clearly. We've got 4 of them lit up. Not all of them. Again, there's 4 on, 2 off. So let's look at what we did and why that's happening. This time, we exited our while loop as soon as this hit 5. So when we got up to pin 5, so this is pin 2, 3, 4, 5. We got up to pin 5, we were no longer making this statement true because we added 1 more at the end. I became 6. 6 is not less than or equal to LED counter, so we exited the loop. So that gives you an idea of how a while loop works.